Alright everybody, this is part 2 of my Godzilla movie review on there. If you haven't had a chance to listen to part 1, please click on that one first, and then that way you can catch up to what I'm talking about here. Now, continuing from part 1, the one other item that's tragic with regards to Juliette Binoche's character, and again this all has to do with that really great opening, is that as warped and as weird as it sounds, at the end of the day it had to happen, because when one considers what everything else came after, from the results from Cranston's character becoming so obsessed in finding the truth and in finding all the answers, and all those answers in turn helping the scientists. It was Ken's character and then Sally's character, because they were a little bit clueless on their part, but with the assistance of Cranston's work and his data, they were able to find a lot of the answers that they needed to help defeat the monsters on there. It all came from Juliette Binoche's characters dying on there. If she hadn't died, then anything else beyond that, there might have been a chance that the monsters could not have been defeated, at least in the way that they had been in the film. True, they probably could have been defeated afterward with other items, but who knows what the loss of life would have been at that point. So again, it's one of those things. It's a lot like when you look at the movie, or actually the character Spider-Man, and Gwen Stacy, with regards to her dying. It had to happen. It's one of those things where he became a more focused hero because of that experience, as opposed to continuing on where he was going to be afterwards. So very tragic, very sad, but again, it all adds to a fantastic opening on there. Now, the other item that was also really good within the film were the special effects. Really great job with regards to the special effects. I was amazed. In some shots in particular, they absolutely looked photorealistic. Like, there was one shot where Godzilla, he was being tracked within the sea itself, which, by the way, was a really iconic shot, when you could see Godzilla's fins, his dorsal fins, protruding through the top of the water, and then you have all these naval ships essentially escorting him almost. A really, really powerful shot. I was not expecting that within the film itself, and what was so scary was how lifelike that particular scene looked. Or when those same fins approached that naval blockade right near the San Francisco bridge, and they stopped, they halted, and then they went under. Really, really great stuff. And then when Godzilla was finally given his full reveal at the Hawaiian airport, that looked scarily realistic too. Also, many of the scenes with the Mutos themselves, for example, there was that scene where the Muto is almost inspecting Aaron Taylor Johnson's character on that railway bridge at night. He's inspecting, that Muto, she's trying to find something is there. In other words, he's trying to find out what that is, and it was really scary. I remember I looked around and I actually saw some of the audience members there in my theater. They were kind of like crouching down more and more because of how tense that scene was, and it all had to do with how well the Mutos were portrayed. The Mutos themselves, whenever they were fighting in the daytime, the Wingy Muto in particular, it was creepy again how well the special effects were. There were a couple of shots where some of the Mutos did look a little, I guess not really as good when it comes to special effects. And even now, when Godzilla finally rips off the head of the Muto after he fired his atomic breath down the female Muto's body, and he rips him off, and he has a iconic roar with the moonlight in the background. That didn't look so real on there. It kind of looked out of place. It looked a lot like what you would see in your average video game movie scene. But for the rest of the stuff, really good stuff. So, great job on the special effects. Whoever the team that was, I don't know if it was ILM or if I was Digital Domain or any of the other special effect powerhouses out there, but they did a pretty great stuff. Pretty good job on there. Another great thing from the film itself, and I touched on this at the beginning with Godzilla's character, is again the overall seriousness that the movie had. My God, it was so good to see this again. It harkened back to the days of Godzilla 1985 and the original Gojira film, because it almost played again like a documentary. So much of what Gary Edwards had mentioned and preached and harped for so long, for so many months, in almost every interview, about the seriousness of the movie and the tone that they're taking with it. It was absolutely there. It felt truly like the stuff would happen if there was a giant monster attacking a city. Nothing was played hokey, nothing was done campy, nothing was done in terms of the 1998 film with the now infamous line, "That's a lot of fish." Nothing like that. In other words, this played the movie played as it would in real life if you took real life characters and you put them against a giant monster and cameras happened to be there. So it wasn't exactly, of course, documentary level, but the serious of it made you give you a sense that yes, this is really happening. And even though we have to suspend disbelief for a moment into believing that there's a 300-foot tall monster fighting another 300-foot tall winged monster, then we know for sure that it should be a little bit hard to believe, but the movie takes away that sense. You can watch it and not feel guilty, in other words, on there. Pretty great stuff on there. And then lastly, the other great thing within the film itself is the military, the way it was portrayed on there. I was surprised with how well everybody involved in the military was portrayed. Of course, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character was a badass in the film without exactly being a show-off or anybody that just needlessly put his life in danger. No, here was a guy who was involved in the military, who was doing his duty, and he was making sure that his family and everyone else's family was protected at all times, including, of course, that little boy that was lost within that airport terminal shuttle, and him taking care of the little boy all the way to the end until the little boy was reunited back with the family. So, and of course with all the other military personnel, the Navy personnel too, everybody did a stellar job the way it was presented. My understanding was that I believe it was the Navy and the military, the U.S. military, that provided support for the film, but it was the Army that did not, for unknown reasons. But you can sense that yes, they had a hand in wanting to show how they were going to be portrayed. I remember there was that badass scene where Aaron Taylor Johnson's character was the only one now, the man on that boat with the atomic bomb or the nuclear bomb, slowly drifting away, and the Muto, of course, comes to meet him face to face one more time. The Muto being pissed off that it recognizes him as the person that destroyed all of her eggs on there, and before she completely just devours it, all of a sudden you hear all these shots coming from somewhere behind her, and you have these really great military men just there, just pounding away, knowing that they needed to distract the Muto long enough for the boat to get away, sacrificing their lives so tragically too, because the way the Muto just utterly destroyed them. It was a horrible way for them to die, but in other words, they knew what they had to do, they knew what they had to take, and there was no hesitation on there. I remember seeing that scene and just feeling so sorry for those military personnel because they looked so tiny, so small. The Muto absolutely dwarfed them. They looked like even smaller than ants to them, but there they were, blazing in all their glory, firing as much shots, rockets, everything that they could to the female Muto, and then ultimately she just completely destroyed them. So great way that the military was presented within the film, even down to again Aaron Taylor Johnson's character at the very end, that Muto again facing him one more time before Godzilla, of course, delivers the final blow. But Aaron Taylor Johnson's character would not go down without a fight, taking out that one gun and aiming it, knowing how futile it would be, but knowing that he's going out himself in a blaze of glory, and would not go down without fight. And great stuff on here. So Again, all the good stuff associated with the film, the monsters portrayed perfectly. The entire opening of the film, all the way towards the middle on there, perfect stuff. The special effects looked beautiful. It looked like a $300 million film, not a $160 million film. The serious within the film, again, taking things back to the way you and I want them to be, from the original Godzilla to the Godzilla 1985 film. None of the other senseless stuff that we've seen within the other Godzilla films. No, back to where we want it to be. And then finally, the military and the way they were portrayed as true heroes. Really good stuff on here. So now I'm going to make another video, part 3, and this is where I actually start talking about the bad stuff within the film, the stuff that I did not like. So again, look out for that coming soon. So thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.